Sander Cohen was once a celebrated artist who wished to push the envelope, but the desires of the public denied him that chance. Feeling constrained, he listened to Andrew Ryan speak of the Great Chain and the removal of the parasites, so that the producers of the world could create unencumbered. He fell in love with the idea, and soon became one of Ryan's most stalwart followers. He'd tell his colleagues Elgar Vankin and Mimi Tambor about Ryan's coming utopia, and they'd proselytize it like the second coming of Jesus Christ. When Andrew Ryan finally initiated plans to make his dream a reality, he invited his good friend Sander Cohen to join him. This was his chance to create the art he so longed for, and far away from the doubters, as he called those who criticized his work. Cohen was a vital influence over Rapture's artistic growth. He was the principal figure of the artistic community, taking under his wing several disciples, and managing Fort Frolic, the social hub of the city. There he operated a nightclub, a theater, a shopping center, galleries, and so much more. He also produced several records and theatrical shows during the golden era of Rapture. Andrew Ryan even tapped him to write Rapture's anthem, Rise, Rapture, Rise. Carlson Fiddle, designer of Ryan Amusements, consulted Cohen throughout the construction of the theme park, and Sophia Lamb encouraged him to partake in the celebration of unconscious art at Dionysus Park. All seemed to be going well for Sander Cohen at the bottom of the Atlantic, but then events outside of his control plunged the city into chaos. Adam turned the citizens into violent, drug-addled psychopaths, searching for their next hit. Fontaine recruited the poor to build an army, and established orphanages to shelter the little girls necessary for Bridget Tenenbaum's experiments. And Andrew Ryan, fearing that his grip on Rapture was loosening, implemented drastic measures, taking over Fontaine Futuristics and imprisoning Sophia Lamb. Soon a new figure would enter the scene to challenge Ryan. Atlas became the leading voice that marshaled the splicers against him, but he was eventually captured and the revolution was snuffed out before it could even begin. With Atlas and his army banished to the department store sunk deep into a cavern, Sander Cohen provided the little girls refuge after the closure of the Little Sisters orphanages. Yet despite his good intentions, he couldn't help but rail against those who questioned his motives.
Of my first play, the Herald said, "A dead whale has washed up at the Schubert Theater and stinks a little more with each passing night." The Tribune called my first opera as having the effect of canceling out all of Mozart's classics in a single caterwaul. And now, critics take me to task for my humanitarian work. If I were not there to find a home for these orphans, would these bellyachers take my place? An artist once said, "All critics should be assassinated." I just might take him up on that.
It turned out the critics were right to question him, as Cohen was trafficking the little girls to whoever paid the right price. Ryan Industries purchased the majority of them so that they could be converted into Little Sisters.
Ryan's been good to me. Few are the patrons who truly understand the struggle of the artist. But even I was a little leery when he shuttered Fontaine's business and sent that bald buck to a grave deep in the briny. But when Ryan buried all of Fontaine's pals in that department store, someone had to find a home for all those freshly minted orphans. And if I turned $1 or $2 in the process, you can hardly blame me for doing well by doing good.
When calm seemed to return to Rapture, that's when splicers bombed the Kashmir on New Year's Eve, and all hell broke loose.
Rapture is going to hell. And why? Because of them. Always behind the scenes, at the Lyceum, at the galleries in Soho, even down here in this so-called utopia. The doubters. But Ryan understands. We're simpatico. Yes, there's blood in the streets. Yes, people sometimes disappear. And those awful little girls. Well, I suppose the doubters think you can paint a picture without soiling your smock.
Though civil war raged throughout Rapture, Sander Cohen couldn't help but think of himself during such distressing times. Musician Ann Culpepper began composing songs highly critical of Andrew Ryan and Sander Cohen, Ryan's songbird, as she called him. This enraged Cohen, sparking a feud between the two.
Regarding your review of Anna Culpepper's latest musical insult, of all the worthy artists in Rapture, why you continue to devote column inches to this musical gremlin is beyond my imagination. Where she is not derivative, she's boring. Where she's not boring, she's obvious. Where she's not obvious, she's dangerous.
Cohen's not a musician. He's Ryan's stable boy. Ryan's corrupt policies crap all over the place, and Cohen flutters around clearing it up. But instead of using a shovel, like you would with a proper mule, Cohen tidies with a catchy melody and a clever turn of phrase. But no matter how nicely it sounds, he can't really do anything about the smell.
For days, Sander Cohen unloaded on Andrew Ryan, constantly complaining about Culpepper's transgressions. And in Ryan, he found a welcomed ally, for Culpepper had become an irritating thorn in his paw over the years. She was only 3 years into college as an English major when Ryan approached her. She collaborated with Sander Cohen and held a seat on the Rapture Central Council. However, their relationship quickly soured when Culpepper refused to merely be a rubber stamp to Ryan's ideas. She constantly expressed her own opinions that contradicted Ryan's. And now that she had directly attacked Sander Cohen, Ryan had no choice but to do something about this disruptive woman.
I worked the meatball beat in Little Italy, and even I'm shocked at the cold blood that oozes out of these artistic types. This broad Culpepper and that fruit job Cohen are in some kind of feud. And Cohen's looking for my security detail to pick sides. The next thing I know, I'm called into Ryan's office to talk about the whole mess. Goddamn nut job artists. I just got the word to put the bump on Anna Culpepper. This isn't some gangster or hard-nosed political operative. We're talking about a dizzy twist what wrote a song or two that got under Ryan's wig. When it was done with Culpepper, I left her as she was in the bathroom. I seen she had a blanket half knitted by her bed. It was nice, you know, black and red, real pretty. So I took it, so I could, you know, have somebody finish it, so it could be of use to someone. It just didn't seem right to leave it lying there all by itself.
Sullivan did as he was told, but with great reluctance. Though impossible to confirm, this order might have contributed to Sullivan's suicide. When he could no longer bear the weight of all he's done for his boss, this was the final straw. The war forced Cohen to close Fort Frolic for a time, and this had a great detrimental effect on his psyche. Deprived of the admiration and attention he was used to, and suffering greatly from the effects of atom usage, he grew to despise Rapture and the man himself.
It used to be such a thrill to hear Ryan speak. Parasite this, and the exaltation of man that. Sure, it could all get a bit of a bore, but the old bear sure knew how to enunciate.
I could have been the toast of Broadway, the talk of Hollywood, but instead I followed you to this soggy bucket. When you needed my starlight, I illuminated you. But now I rot, waiting for an audience that doesn't ever come. I'm writing something for you, Andrew Ryan. It's a requiem.
Like the rest of the citizens of Rapture, he too went insane.
The Wild Bunny by Sander Cohen. I want to take the ears off, but I can't. I hop. And when I hop, I never get off the ground. It's my curse, my eternal curse. I want to take the ears off, but I can't. It's my curse. It's my fucking curse. I want to take the ears off. Please, take them off. Please.
During the war, Sander Cohen announced he was reopening Fort Frolic for one final frolic. Those wishing to escape the death and chaos, at least for a few hours' reprieve, flocked to the entertainment district for one night of frivolity. But as the festivities were well underway, Cohen locked down Fort Frolic, trapping everyone present, and began picking them off one after another, plastering them and propping them up in what would become his largest art installation yet. His madness was all-consuming. He even turned against his 5 disciples, the people who were once his closest confidants. He trapped 4 of them in Fort Frolic and let them scrounge around like rats for a time as he prepared his greatest masterpiece. They, in turn, expressed their own opinions, letting loose what they really thought of Cohen.
You know what? Art, music, poetry. It's all grift. Cohen's got Ryan wrapped around his little pinky. And why? Because he tells them what he wants to hear. Rise, rapture, rise. Nuts. That stuff was still before it came out of Cohen's pen. I'm through with the whole pinata. You see that old fool trying to keep me here. You won't lock us in, old man? Oh, that's fine with cops. I used to love you. I used to think you're a musical genius. You know why? Because you paid my rent, you ancient hack. Come on to the record store. I'll show you what I think of your plinkety-plink-plink.
You think you gotta finish me in here, you old fruit? Yeah, the saps you tossed in this meat locker all panicked like rabbits. I just watched and waited. And when they started to kick, I started to scavenge. Made myself a little splicer cocktail, I did. You can't come in from the cold. Then you gotta grow ice over your heart. And the Iceman cometh, Sander, baby. The Iceman fucking cometh.
As for the 5th disciple, he shipped her to the department store, accompanied by a private detective, to retrieve a little sister who'd been sent there. When Jack arrived in Rapture, Cohen used him for his own gain.
Where are my manners? Come in! Come in! Sander Cohen awaits you at the Fleet Hall.
He had already captured Kyle Fitzpatrick, strapped him to a piano loaded with explosives, and forced him to rehearse until his playing was perfect.
Da 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 da! No!
Oh, Cohen, you sick fuck, let me out!
Yes, and there's Fitzpatrick, freed of his own kinks and defects. And here's the glorious news. This is just the moment of conception. Out in this place, there are 3 men, all former disciples of mine, all connected by a common thread: betrayal. Find them, little moth, and immortalize their mortality in my quad tick.
Jack had no other option than to comply. Without Sander Cohen's permission, he'd be stuck in Fort Frolic forever. So he hunted down the disciples, murdered them, and snapped a photograph. Once all the pictures were in place, the man himself appeared in flesh and blood to celebrate his achievement.
It is accomplished.
It is unknown what happened to Sander Cohen. Jack might have killed him or let him live. All we can know for certain is that Cohen's influence in Rapture lingered on for years as the utopia died a slow and painful death.